Good afternoon. It's time for Nightly Muse, and I'm Jason Tweed. Well, I try never to allow Nightly Muse to be my rant session. I do plenty of ranting on my own. I don't need a uh, a video platform to store my rants forever and ever. However, there were three pieces of information that came out today that are just rant worthy, and I wanted to give those to you. Number one, there is a video on YouTube called The Plandemic, and it's complete and utter bullshit. It was organized by an anti-vaxxer group, and they are distributing it, claiming a giant conspiracy around the COVID virus. Now, I love a good conspiracy theory. Was JFK or was Oswald really the only shooter? Um, yeah, but the problem is with this one in particular, and why I want to mention it, is that some conspiracy theories are interesting thought experiments, and little more than that is NASA faking that the Earth is round, it's really flat. Well, no, they're not. But it's an interesting thought experiment. And the tools that believe the Earth is flat and have this wild theory about it, I get some entertainment from them. They really hype this crap up, probably for YouTube views, not to do anything, of real value. All the airline pilots that are flying right now around the world aren't going to fall off because some tools believe that the world is flat. So it's no harm, no foul. But this one's different. This COVID conspiracy theory is going to hurt people. The problem is that we're trying to decide whether to reopen business. We're trying to decide and learn about how contagious this virus is and how to prevent the spread. And we're looking at a virus that very likely is going to have a resurgence based on the fact that it's traveled the world and done a huge amount of damage in spite of efforts that normally would have slowed the spread of a virus like this. Could we have done a better job? Absolutely. But from where we're at now, we have tough decisions to make. And those decisions are going to be influenced not by the facts expressed in these videos, or facts are being claimed, but by the popularity of the belief. If this takes a popularity, or if this gets popular enough that politicians have to acknowledge it in their decision making, it's very harmful. If it gets popular enough that people alter their behavior now, on false information, it's going to cost us lives. Real people are going to die because of lies and bad information being produced. So it's time that we get the word out, stamp out this particular documentary, and get rid of all the conspiracy theories about the origin, and let the damn scientists and medical professionals that are actually on the ground with real information and real data. Let them tell us what the facts are. This conspiracy theory is bunk for one reason and one reason only. There are roughly 17,000 emergency room physicians around the US. There are more than 1 million physicians and more than 2 million nurses working daily in healthcare facilities looking at this disease. There are nonprofit organizations, non-governmental organizations, governments, and for-profit pharmacies all trying to find a vaccine for this beast. And there is absolutely a huge amount of money at stake. But the challenge is that if they produce a vaccine, have it well tested, regardless of who is the first, it will start saving lives, but only if people accept that it's legitimate. To say big pharma and put the evil hex on them for doing research is ridiculous, simply because research scientists would have to be in on it. The reality is there are tens of thousands of people that are on the front lines that would have to be in on this mass conspiracy to make any of this valid. What's more likely, that tens of thousands of educated and trained professionals are all teaming up for one big shadow organization that wants to reap the benefits of a worldwide pandemic? Or is it more likely that 9 YouTubers got together and made a convincing video and started sharing it on all of their bullshit websites until it got picked up? Which is more likely? Just ask yourself that. 9 YouTubers versus international conspiracy of the educated. Point number 2, and this is legitimate news that's very frustrating to me as a business owner. The Small Business Association has changed the way they are forgiving loans. There were 2 loan programs, and they were giving loans of up to $2 million for businesses that A, were affected by COVID, had to close, and B, were not only affected but also wanted to maintain their payroll. And basically what it said is, if your business is way down, but you're willing to keep people on payroll and continue to pay them, then we're going to forgive the loan, as long as 75% of the money is used on payroll and the other 25% is used for operations expenses, such as rent and utilities and things like that. Then you would get forgiven. So if you keep your, to the best of your ability, if your business stays open and your revenue doesn't suffer, then you may not be forgiven and you'll have to pay back the loan. The problem is that these loans of up to $2 million were very low interest. They were pushed through very, very quickly. The money actually ran out in less than a week after it was available. Banks were rushing to get the loans approved as quickly as they could. And now they're saying that the maximum forgiveness may be $150,000. Out of a $2 million loan, that's less than 10% forgiveness. My business suffered dramatically. We lost 80% of our revenue in April. We kept everyone on payroll, we kept paying our people, and we're starting to bounce back. May is going to be a little bit better for us, but we're still going to be down significantly from last year. But we got a small loan, $16,000 to cover our salaries for 8 weeks. We're going to use 100% of that for salaries. We have very, very low overhead, and none of the overhead money is being used from that PPP loan. We have enough revenue to cover our overhead. Now, with that said, we're probably going to be forgiven. But there were tons of businesses that expected to be forgiven, and only a fraction of the money is going to actually be forgiven. And then they have to pay off this massive loan in 17 months. They get 6 months with interest-only payments, and then they have to pay it back. That means payments could be $100,000 or more a month. The challenge with this is these businesses are already going to be suffering. If that's the case, they may go bankrupt. Or the loan is very low interest. They may need to borrow that money again from a bank to pay the loan off, and spread it over a longer period of time. That'll reduce their monthly payments, but they could be charged 8-9% interest. 900% more money for the bank than the bank was earning with the SBA loans. We knew that there were going to be contingencies on forgiveness, but what we didn't know was that there was going to be a cap, and that cap was originally $2 million, and now it's $150,000. And this is not a small amount of loans, $350 billion with a B dollars worth of loans that went out to small businesses. At that rate, that could mean that there could be billions of dollars in loans that can't be repaid, and the businesses will just simply go bankrupt, and people will be laid off. Unemployed business owners will not be eligible for unemployment, which they are right now under the COVID rules, but in most states they won't be once the pandemic is over. And their business could suffer again in 6 months. I'm nervous about it because my clients are small business. We do marketing primarily for businesses of around $2 million a year in revenue. We have a couple of clients that are bigger businesses, but most of our clients are small. If those clients go under, it has a trickle-down effect. All their vendors lose more money, including my company. It's not that small businesses need or deserve a handout. However, they got a loan anticipating that if they followed the rules, that was money that was going to be forgiven. And now, regardless of your intentions or what you're actually doing, if you get a loan of more than $150,000, it probably won't be forgiven. 100%, maybe very low, maybe 7%. So that's number 2 rant for today. Number 3 is one that just gave me a chuckle. President Trump, who is tries to be perceived as a superhero disease-resistant hero, found out that his valet tested positive, his personal body man. And it just makes me laugh because we wonder if having that type of a close scare, he's already been exposed, we know now, at least twice. If that, and we've seen other, sitting heads of state have gotten coronavirus. Trump's alter ego Boris from the UK, also got coronavirus, and in fact, he survived and is doing well. However, one of the nurses that posed for pictures of him without a mask in the hospital later got coronavirus and died from it. We don't know that she got it from him, but what we do know is that she had close contact with him and many other people with coronavirus. It's sad, but I think what we're seeing in America is that people aren't going to take this disease seriously until a lot of them have firsthand experience, either getting the disease or a close family member who gets the disease, or someone that they know personally dies from the disease. I hope the valet recovers. I hope he gets great medical treatment. But will this influence President Trump in his decision making about how seriously to take this disease? I hope it does, because I think that the coronavirus, for me in particular, is very dangerous. I'm a wheelchair user. I have a limited lung capacity, and I've done a lot to avoid people. Have not been out of my house in 8 weeks. Have not seen my relatives other than the people I live with. It's hard, but I have too many people depending on me to risk my life. So this is how I'm handling it. I take this very personal. But I understand the people who say, this is just a disease and I still have to make a living. I still have to provide for my family. I need money to do that, and my health is worth the risk. But ultimately, everyone that does not hunker down for 2 to 3 weeks minimum is putting other people at risk until we know how to combat this contagion. So that's the COVID 3-point rant for today. Don't spread bullshit, number 1. Number 2 is reach out to elected officials and say, you need to keep your promises to small business. And number 3, here's hoping all of you make good decisions about your own health and don't have to deal with those firsthand experiences in your family. And if you do, I hope that it helps mold your opinion about the risk, because that's the only way we stop this. I'm Jason Tweed. This has been Nightly Muse. I apologize for my craziness, but I hope that you learned something today, or at least I brought you something Muse-worthy. Hit subscribe, ring the little bell, hit like, help me get my subscribers up over 1,000 so I can make 25 cents from this damn video. Thanks so much. Good night.